Yeah, we're live now.
All right.
Okay, can
Um,
I start?
can we start? Man, can we start?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome you all to the Finance Internship Talks. Uh, I hope you guys get a lot of great insights from today's discussions. I would like to introduce you guys to today's panel. We have Harshwardhan Mittal. He has worked in Morningstar as Index Product Sales and Operations Analyst. We have Aashish Agarwal. He has worked with UBS as Risk Modeling and Analytics Specialist. We have Saumitra. He has worked with two stations. He has worked with DBOI as Financial Analytics Intern and with Credit Suisse as market risk intern. And we have Bhavya, who is right now working with Credit Suisse as scenario stress testing uh, analyst. So I won't waste much time. I'll just give a few headers. Uh, so if you guys have any questions, there is a link in the description box. You can put your questions in that Google form. We'll be taking the questions in the end. Every speaker will be given 10 to 15 minutes to talk about their PS station, all other roles, and what all departments are there. And yeah, if you guys can also give students some advice on how can they maximize the chances of PPO. With that being said, and without further ado, we'll have our first speaker, Harshwardhan Mittal, talking about his Morningstar internship. Harshwardhan Bhaiya, the mic's yours.
Right. Thanks, Raj. So thanks a lot for joining in on a Saturday night. I hope you guys are doing well. Let me know if my audio is coming out fine, and if you can see my screen, just type yes on the chat box if you can, if it's fine, it's working fine. Raj, are people replying yes on the chat form?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, without wasting time, let's just start. So this slide basically, I would like to cover what I'm going to go through in this discussion. I worked at Morningstar, as Raja said. So I'll just brief you about what is Morningstar. So many people don't know about Morningstar because it's not a brand which is very visible in India. The roles which are offered in the PS station. So I'll only be discussing the finance roles which come because I think that's what is fun interest in this session. And then I'll move on to the career prospects, and finally I will sort of help you make the right choice for you, right? So it's very important first before going into why Morningstar or what Morningstar and different things about Morningstar. I sort of wanted to tell you about the certain things which you need to consider before selecting a finance PA station. So here's some of the parameters, and from left to right are organized in their weightage. So on the left side, that parameter has the most weightage as compared to the parameters which are subsequently ordered in that from left to right, right? So many people feel that it's you should look at the compensation, or we have this myth of, let's say, people start feeling in talking to seniors and start discussing as to what are the PPO chances, and then based on that sole parameter, they decide what should be put on top and what should not be put on top. The second myth, which even I encountered, was finance is just about doing something on Excel and Python and all the roles are shit. So it's not the case like that. I would tell you, PS has done a fantabulous job when it comes to the number of roles which comes in and the opportunities which they provide. Always, one suggestion would be to keep an open mind, because at an undergraduate level, there is certain limitations as to what all you can be doing because of the coursework which we have, right? So please do keep that in mind. So the most important parameter which you should consider is brand visibility, right? So sometimes if it's good if you join the same company after you start, let's say, intern in that company. But if you want to apply off campus or maybe in your future, what works the most in finance is the brand, right? So if you have a Goldman Sachs or a JP Morgan or a Nomura or something like that on your resume, that will sort of push your resume through across different places when you apply, right? So that's very important. And the second thing is the role, right? So uh, and that's why I have paid a lot of attention about explaining the roles at Morningstar as well, because you need to understand what are your interests, what does that role align with the interest, because there's 100% chance that if you get a PPO, it will be in the same team where you're interning, right? There is very minimal chance that some other team will take you. There are chances, there are cases like that, but rest assured that most of you would prefer to go into the team where you have worked with, right? The second most important parameter is career trajectory. So what we miss is that we do not evaluate what will happen when we join the company, right? How will our career moves? Where will we go after 2, 3 years? That's really important, because your first job may not be very important, but still it defines where you. It's a starting point, right? And that sort of helps you go into one direction or the other direction, and you try to understand where you want to take a career path. So before selecting any PS station, try to understand what are the career trajectories post taking that station, right? And also the compensation, right? So, as you know, that these PA stations are in Mumbai or areas in metropolitan cities, so they have a high. These cities have a high cost of living. So it's important that you sort of get a good compensation and a good CTC when you get a job there. Then the third thing is exit opportunities. This is also a very critical parameter, because as you see, a lot of Bitsians keep changing their jobs, and usually people do for a better role or for a better company. So you need to know whether there are exit options. And by exit options, I'm just talking about the jobs and not MBA, because that is completely different and it is off the point of discussion in this in today, right? And yeah, and finally, the least important thing I would be the location. Work culture is important, but to a lesser extent. And then the last parameter should be PPO chances, because nobody really knows if you will get a PPO or not. There is no definite answer. So if somebody says that इस team में PPO मिलेगा, उस team में PPO मिलेगा, that is completely myth. There is no particular precedence for a PPO, right? Now, coming to what Morningstar is, now, as other finance creations, Morningstar is not an investment bank. It is a financial services company. It is not a bank, right? So that's the first thing which you should understand, that like JP Morgan, Nomura, or Goldman Sachs, or UBS, or Credit Suisse, as the other speakers will talk about, it is not an investment bank. So Morningstar is basically a firm which was established in Chicago. It's based out of US, but has offices around the world. It's a very well-known brand in US, but the visibility in India is there in certain sectors, which is related to asset management. So if you are working in the asset management industry, Morningstar is a very big name. But in general terms, if you see finance as a whole, Morningstar in India is not such a strong brand name. The Indian office of Morningstar is in Navi Mumbai, so it's not in proper Mumbai. So it's out of Mumbai. It's Navi Mumbai. The services which Morningstar provides are basically in asset management. So they have asset management team. They also have investment advisory, which caters to rating of different mutual funds and other bonds, right? And they also have an indexes team. So indexes is what is the area of interest for us, because that is what which comes for PS. So the business unit which comes for PS is Morningstar Indexes. And for those who do not know what indexes are, so indexes are like Sensex, Nifty. It's basically a portfolio of companies, basically securities bundled together, so that you can track the performance of the market, or you can have something to benchmark, right, your performance to. So Morningstar Indexes is what which comes on for PS. And the speciality of Morningstar Indexes compared to its peers is that it has an edge when it comes to ESG indexes, which stands for Environment, Social Governance, and which is the new. If most of you, I'm sure that would be following finance and have a keen interest in finance, would know that ESG as a theme is gaining a lot of momentum in US and in European markets. So they are have a first mover advantage in ESG indexes, because they have acquired a company called Sustainalytics. Now, coming to the roles which are offered at Morningstar, so I'm sure that you must have seen the PS list by now, and these three teams would be very familiar with you guys. So the first one is client service and implementation. So this team was called Index Product Sales and Operations when I was doing my PS last year. So this team's name has changed to client service and implementation. So I'm just going to give a brief about this team, because obviously because we're short of time, so wouldn't go deep into the roles. But understand that this is a support team. This team helps sales guys all over the world with a lot of data requests, because indexes is a data heavy business, right? So they help with all the data requests, with all the requests for pitch decks. So we help create these pitch decks which these sales people present to the clients, and the clients are usually mutual fund houses and big institutional investors. So that's one sort of query which you will handle. The second sort of thing which this team does is a lot of operations. So there's a lot of data handling which is done when it comes to operationalizing an index, doing the file transfer, and there are a lot of systems and processes in place for the whole business to function, right? So this team is basically holding the whole business together by optimizing business processes and sort of ensuring that all the teams work in sync. So this is a very generalist type of a role wherein you get experience of sales, business analyst, as well as some sort of finance, right? There is finance, but there is limited amount of finance. The second team is index management analytics. So this team is basically responsible for all the indexes which are live, and it helps them. It basically does the rebalancing and reconstitution. So people are not aware of rebalancing and reconstitution understand it as something that it's basically maintenance of the index. It's like you have to rebalance the index after, basically change its weight of every security after some periodic intervals, and also change the securities in the portfolio after certain intervals, right? So this team is responsible for that. They also help solve higher level queries from the clients as well, like all the L3, L4, L5 level queries, which are difficult for the client service and implementation team to solve. So these guys, because they know in and out about the index, they are the ones who sort of help us to solve the queries when it comes to indexes, right? The third team, which is the most interesting, and the team which is called the new product development team. This team is responsible for making new indexes. They are responsible for creating the investment methodology, and they sort of basically make the index per se, which securities will go in, which will not go in, right? So they sort of make these investment methodologies. They interact more with the clients. They sit with the clients and understand what are the requirements, and then they chart out how the index should be. But at an undergraduate level, what a Bitsin role would be, it is not, we'll not get the client facing role for sure, but what we'll get is we will basically be able to generate new indexes, and it'll be a more hands-on role, right? And more than a client-facing role, it'll be more a hands-on role on generating new indexes. And this team has a lot of things going on in machine learning also, and a lot of Python work. So be ready for a lot of coding in this team, because that's what they hire engineers for. Now, I've put down the names of the alumni which are currently working in these teams, and they are respectively from the campuses mentioned across their names. So do feel free to reach out to them on LinkedIn. You can type in their names. All of them are on LinkedIn, and some of them have been there in these companies for about 3-4 years, and some of them have joined in the recent past. So you guys can talk to them about the teams if you want to know in more detail about what these teams do. But I think this sort of explanation is enough at this point of time. Now, coming to the most important part, which is what will you be joining as if you get a PPO, right? So you should know what a career trajectory would be. So if you are, if you get a PPO in index client services and implementation, you'll get a PPO and you'll be joining as an associate business analyst, right? So that's your designation when you join in if you get a PPO. If you get a PPO from IC from the IMA team. I'm sorry for the typing mistake. If you join from the IMA team, which is the Index Management Analytics team, you will get the designation of associate quantitative analyst. And if you join in using the last, which is the new product development team, you will again be given the title of associate quantitative analyst. Now, the exit options which are there for you when you choose any of these teams is, number one is index analyst. So index analyst can it's a very generalist role in the indexes business. So you can join in again as an index analyst, where you'll be managing more teams, you'll have more work streams under you, and you'll be able to basically work as a manager, or maybe work as an index process optimization manager there. And other thing is, you can dive into client success manager, which is more of a sales oriented role, right? So because you have a lot of understanding about the index business, so the next company if you join, you can sort of join into as an index and as a client success manager. It's more of a sales role, more of a client relationship role. The other two roles, these can be within the financial industry or can be outside the financial industry. So if you're looking for a business analyst role in a startup also, I think the experience here at Morningstar in working in the IC, in the Index Client Services team, can help you in that, because you will get proficient in the skills such as Python, Excel, and SQL, as well as you will also have a very good idea about how business processes work. So that is a very key component when it comes to a business analyst job, right? So if you can easily transition into any business analyst. Also, I've seen some people transitioning into product management, but that is obviously with an experience of 4 to 5 years across working across different teams in Morningstar. So that's there. If you join in as in the IMA team, you can come out in the modeling and quant roles. And quantitative analyst is it's a amazing role, because there are a lot of different roles in these investment banks and a lot of financial services companies which want engineers, and they do not want MBA, so they want only engineers. And you can basically move up the career ladder very fast, because you don't need an MBA to move up the ladder there. And they are very much to do with coding as well as mathematics, probability, statistics. So if you have got the opportunity to work in these teams, so you can move out into these roles. Also, again, you can also move out to be an index analyst, or you can also go into product development, which is like you can go into structuring roles, which are very fancy, because these, if you go into investment banks, they make very specific products for specific clients. So you can be on the teams wherein you are interacting with the clients and trying to understand what are their needs, and sort of making products, financial products there. So it's a very lucrative career if you are looking in this direction. It's a very math and engineering oriented career. It's very limited MBA knowledge is required. More of your math skills, your engineering skills, and your coding skills are required. Obviously, in the senior level, there will be some sales and business skills required, but most of it is satisfied with what you have learned in college, right? So that's what your exit opportunities are. Most of the people exit into teams in city. So all these big investment banks have an index team. They work on very specific indexes, very specific clients, and they are very good paying. So you can move into investment banks, or you can obviously move into companies which are other index providers. So the biggest index provider in the world is S&P Dow Jones. So you must have heard of Dow Jones, as the like S&P 500 is the most famous index in the world. So S&P Dow Jones, MSCI, London Stock Exchange, FTSE Russell. These are the other index providers which you can move in. You can also move in into asset management firms, like you can move into Motilal Oswal or some other firms where they think that your prior knowledge in this area is sort of sufficient enough for you to get a job there. So that is about the exit opportunities. Now coming to like the elephant in the room, what are the courses, what is the CGPA requirement, what are the offshoot schools which are required. So in terms of finance courses, I would say the most important course is security analysis and portfolio management. You should have a fair understanding of the different types of securities which are present, and their functioning, and what exactly do they mean, and also some portfolio management techniques, because the firm is into asset management, right? So you should also know about different portfolio management techniques, and which is there in the security analysis and portfolio management course. Prop stats, having a good mathematical background will help you. Machine learning basics, matlab, it's not needed, but if you have it, then you can get a good project, and the project there is very much dependent on you. So if whatever you want to do, you can do at these companies at the PS station. Also remember that it's a 6 month internship, so they treat you as a full time employee. So they will give you business as usual. So they'll give you some work which is routine, which they give every employee also, and also you'll have a side project. So the side project is what is dependent on your prior knowledge and what your interests are. In terms of software, I would say we should be good with Excel, SQL, and Python is these three things are important. AWS, if you're familiar with it, is okay, but not necessary, because most of the companies are shifting their databases from physical databases to remote databases or cloud databases. So AWS is becoming very popular. So having some amount of knowledge there is good, but not essential. When it comes to offshoot and CG, I would say that in my PS there was a lot of discrepancy, because there were a lot of students and number of PS stations were less, so the cutoffs were insane. But usually they are around 7.5 is sort of okay for Morningstar, and on offshoot score of 35 to 40. But see, it also depends on every year, so I'm not so sure what will happen this time. But these are all safe ranges. It will not be more than this for sure. So if you are in this range, I would say there's pretty much a good chance for you to get Morningstar. Now, when it comes to PPO chances, the PPO chances are very high. It's an expanding team. It's growing globally. It's increasing every day. Every year they're hiring a lot of people. You have to, as a part of your internship, you have to do a presentation in front of all the managers of all the teams, and that's what decides your chances of getting or converting the PPO. The PPOs are usually declared in the third week of January, so you have to sit for your placements. You may not be able to get your results prior to that, and there is no bias. So if you're a non-eco dualite, or even if you work for 6 months, there is equal probability that you get a chance. And there is also no discrepancy. There's also no biasness when it comes to first MPS or second MPS. It's not like that. It only depends on the number of positions which are open. And if you have interned first, so you will get the first right to apply for those positions and contact your manager for it. So that's not there. So that's a good part of this thing. How to increase your chances to get the PPO? You have to show willingness to work for the firm. The firm values employees which value the firm. Second thing is execute your projects on a timely fashion. Don't overcommit. Just commit what you can do, right? And try to execute them, implement them while you are there. Having a good project will increase your chances. And the third thing is that you should have a very good presentation at the end, because you need to understand what the business does. You need to understand what indexes are, and that's what is done in the last presentation. So do have a good fundamental understanding of the indexes business, as not the business but indexes as a concept. What are indexes and how they work, right? The pros are working at Morningstar. It's an amazing work culture, good environment, good people. A lot of Bitsians are working in this company, and it's located in Navi Mumbai, so little lower, not drastically lower, but a little lower living expenses as compared to Mumbai. And people who wanted to work for asset management industry, they can sort of go in that. Biggest con is that they have a lower compensation as compared to other finance spaces. So if you get a PPO, the CTC is usually lower than other finance spaces. There's low brand visibility. So if you're going for an MBA, so maybe if in some of the interviews people may not recognize, so you have to explain to them what Morningstar does and all that stuff, which is not the case in JP, Deutsche Bank, or other banks, right? The third thing is that there is a very limited amount of finance per se, so don't get too excited that there'll be a lot of finance. But there will be finance, but mostly it'll be engineering related stuff, data analysis and coding, right? So that's it from my side. Please, if you have any questions, do write them in the drop box. I'm stopped sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, Harshwardhan Bhaiya. I guess we can quickly jump to our next speaker, and in the end, we can take all the questions. So, Aashish Bhaiya, you have the floor. You can start whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Harshwardhan. Well, Harshwardhan did cover all the aspects of what entails when you're going for a financial sector PS station. And well, let's just start with sharing my screen over here. All right. Okay. Currently, I'm still working with UBS, and I'm working with them as a risk modeling and analytics specialist. So I'll start with a bit of introduction about UBS. And well, it's a global wealth management and investment bank. It provides loads of financial services to its stakeholders. And if you want to get a gist of how big UBS as a bank is, or as a financial institution is, you can have a look into its competitors. You know, it's Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, HSBC, Barclays, and many more are there. Right. I see that the roles offered in this practice school are group finance, and then there's group risk, group operations. So I can give you a brief intro on what group risk division holds for you guys. And when you're going for the group risk station, it's more towards the risk methodology division it has under it. Group risk as a whole is a very, very big department in UBS, and risk methodology is one of its subsidiaries, what we have over here. Risk methodology is majorly a modeling division, and it works on various models like statistical, machine learning, probabilistic, option pricing models, all of them. This again is divided into different teams. Now there's the market risk team, credit risk team, operational risk modeling team, scenario expansion modeling teams, right? So what these teams do is basically market and credit risk modeling teams. What they do is there are some ratios. You know, there's a capital ratio. most of the banks have to adhere to certain ratios which are provided to them by regulatory bodies. So to get these ratios correct, what market and credit risk modeling teams do is they calculate the risk-weighted assets that are fed into these ratios. So they are the ones who are forecasting all the losses for the firm or for the UBS portfolio coming in. And if you're looking into stress testing, then it comes down to when regulators have their own macroeconomic scenario. So let's take a scenario. What we have currently is the coronavirus pandemic, which is going on. Now, what they'll say is we have this scenario of coronavirus going on for the next 2 years. And this is the scenario narrative that the inflation would go up or the GDP would go down. So how are the losses? What will we see? So these scenarios which come to this risk methodology team, the market and credit risk teams would forecast the losses. They'll convey back to them, and this is how the things would progress. As for my profile, I was working with the scenario expansion team, and this comes a ladder above the market and the credit risk teams, as we are the ones who will be working on the financial model codes, the development codes which come to us. We'll be confirming them. We'll see if they are still fit for use or not. So if I have to say, scenario expansion team, on an annual basis, we check each of the financial models coming to us. We are assessing the fit of the models. Are they still valid after the development? We are looking into their statistical tests. So each of the statistical tests, generally, which students of economics background go through, are like Johansson test, White test, Bruce-Pagan test. These all tests are actually applied over here in the data we have. We see if it's within our range, our threshold range, and see, okay, this is working fine. There's a breach in data. There's a breach over the some of the results. Some of the RMSE results are way too off. So this is how we counter check if the models are working or not, right? And examining these risks, checking whether the data quality or the controls are working, is one of the works of the teams here in risk methodology. If let's start with what to do and what not to do in UBS. If you are looking, UBS has a very good work culture. If I have to say, I've been working with them for the past 9 months. I've taken a dual PS with them, especially for this part, that continuing with them wouldn't be an issue. After all, the people there are really collaborative. Now, during the initial stages of your internship with them, they'll tell you to learn a few things coming down to you. They'll tell you to read some books for finance related models, or they'll tell you to read through their research papers or their model documentations, what they have, so that you get a gist of what the work entails for your team, right? And if it comes down to what knowledge you can have on hand before going on for UBS, it's better to have a coding language on hand, because majority of your work is going to be on the coding side of things. When you're looking into the model development codes, and then you're going for the statistical tests in them, you'll have to either hard code them, you'll have to make functional programming work, and then you'll have a methodology of all the mnemonics, or as to say, the risk factors you have over there. And then you'll have to go through those methodologies. Okay, this behaves in a particular way, and I have the market data coming in, and this is how it should be processed. This is the regression model I'll be using. Either it could be a random walk testing model, or it could be a linear regression model. So that methodology comes from another team in UBS, the economists. They provide us, okay, this is how it should go about, right? So R is one of them. Python is another. Git is a good have to, because majority of times when you're working with teams, there's collaboration, and Git is one where your codes are uploaded, where your progress is tracked. So everything is generally done through cloud. So that's a good to have. And for know-how, statistics, it would be probability and statistics. And if you want to, because there will be questions coming to you, there will be methodologies in the documentations in the model when you will be looking into, okay, so this is a linear regression one, okay, this is a random walk one. So in order to get what exactly they are, you'll have to go through econometrics courses, so that, okay, this is how the tests are conducted, what's the meaning behind the tests, is there a autocorrelation coming in, or is there some another breach which is present and I need to remove that. Microsoft Excel and machine learning and data science, they're bit optional on the sides, but they'll give you a bit advantage over things, because when you're comparing results, you have them exported to Excel, and then you create pivot tables, or there's lookup coming up, or there are multiple scenario files and breaches you are comparing. So it's good to have a knowledge of how Excel works and how things are done in that. Machine learning and data science, again, comes down to data analysis and the linear regressions coming in, and they are particularly used in different models we have, right? And as for the strategies for PPO, already Harsh has conveyed that there cannot be a definite answer to will you get a PPO or not. But if I have to say, you'll take the work initiative, I would say, because the team, they'll be looking after you like for the whole period of time. They'll be assessing you, evaluating you. Okay, how's your work? How are you working? Are there weekly updates or not? If there's progress in your work, are you lagging behind? Is this too much on your plate, or you're not communicating well? So these all factors do add up, right? And on these basis, they'll probably say a yes or a no to your PPO chances. But in UBS, because this team, this whole, the roles they have offered this time have a high chances of PPO. Why? Again, because in India, they're expanding their teams, they're expanding their divisions in India. They have just created this group risk methodology quarters in Mumbai, and they're expanding their team. So you have a good chance in getting a PPO. Although towards the compensation side of things, when you're looking for this internship, it's a bit less, again, compared to other financial firms like JP Morgan, Credit Suisse, DBOI. Because of a new team and they have their own factors coming in, they're providing only a 40K per month stipend for this internship. And considering that you're living in Mumbai, high living expense place, it's going to be a bit of a tight issue when you're living in Mumbai and working for the firm. The timings are flexible. They're not going to push you to work at like 11 hours a day, 12 hours a day, and they're going to say, okay, work with us till 11 p.m. in the night. No, the timing's fixed. So if you're logging in at 10:30 in the morning, so there's a logout time of 6:30 in the evening, 7:30 in the evening, and it won't go over that. And there are multiple opportunities when you're working with different teams from different countries. So I'm currently working with a team in US, and I'm handling some of the processes. And this comes when you have some experience gained, working with them for 3 months, 4 months in the internship. So that's how the things would go. And for the chances, I would say about CTC, again, it would vary from year to year, but it's low as compared to JP Morgan or Wells Fargo or Credit. So Wells Fargo has offered a CTC of last displacements around 30 lakhs per annum. And similarly for JP Morgan also, they were around this range, only 25-30 lakhs. But UBS would be offering bit lower, on the bit lower range for now. The profile would be either quantitative analyst, the risk modeling and analytics specialist, and for other roles, you can have a P2P conversation with me, and I'll let you guys all in. And I guess that's it from my end, because there's nothing much to discuss about the roles here. So, all right. Thank you,
Thank,
Raj.
thank you, Ashish Bhaiya. Um, we can have our next speaker, Saumitra Bhaiya. Saumitra Bhaiya has done his internship at two stations, DBOI as well as Credit Suisse. So I guess it will be a lot more advantageous to have perspective on both the internships from his side. Saumitra Bhaiya, the floor is yours.
Tell me if you can see my screen and if my audio is clear.
Yeah, the screen's visible, but like the audio is a bit less. I mean, it's a little less louder than it's audible, but it's less louder.
Just a minute. Just it. Is it better now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just share my screen. Yeah. Hi. So yeah. First, I'll start off with a brief intro of myself. So I'm a Eco Plus Civil Dualite. I'd opted for dual SIM PS, and first of which was in DBOI, Pune office. It was a role of financial analytics intern. It was a 4 months PS, and then this semester I'm working with Credit Suisse. It's a risk management profile, global markets risk management team, and like the PS lasts until 26th of June. So yeah, so that's the brief intro. And after that, this is all. After all, whatever Harshwardhan and Aashish have already covered, I'll try to not overlap, but rather focus on my specific stations and my personal experiences and my personal comparison and opinions on which one was better for me. And yeah, so I'll be talking about pre-allotment, then experience, a rough comparison, and the factors affecting people chances. Obviously, disclaimer is that obviously there's it's all opinions mostly, and yeah. So uh, so pre-allotment. So last semester, Deboy took students purely on the basis of offshoot because there was a guy from Hyderabad campus who had a CG of 5.5 but a very good offshoot of 41. So he got a DBOI risk profile in the first allotment itself. That was a major that was a major point of us during our semester during the first semester. So yeah, so that's what the trend tells, that DBOI takes purely on the basis of offshoot, while Credit Suisse takes both CG and offshoot into consideration. Because and like for the global market risk management profile, they had specifically mentioned the courses like FRAM and DRM, so that we had an idea ki Credit Suisse looks after the FRAM grades. So I had a good grade in FRAM, that's why I put it on the top this profile. Yep. So prerequisites, I'll start with that. In terms of DBOI, it was just Excel skills, VLOOKUP, macros, pivots, and all of that. Whatever can fasten up your work and get you to contribute more to the team in a more efficient and smart way. In terms of CS, it was a bit more. So these prerequisites are recommended, not required. So uh, like in CS also you need Excel. Obviously, in every finance role you need to have a good hold of Excel. Apart from that, since this was a risk management profile and specifically for this team was for securitized products, so it's a new field. Like there were other like equities and fixed income securities. So we read about them in SAPM and other courses, but securitized products we don't get to read much in our college curriculum. So for that, I started preparing for FRM2 this semester. So that proved to be helpful in this role because FRM covers securitized products information. And apart from that, yeah, you could obviously you don't need to go for FRM. You could just go on Investopedia and read about various kinds of securitized products and what they are, what they're there to, and everything. And definitely, if you're looking to get into risk management profiles, you should know the basic risk terms, jargons, like different ways of calculating VAR and everything. So this was the prerequisite for CS. Now I'll talk about my personal experience. So in terms of DBOI Financial Analytics Pune team, I was working under the corporate real estate and services CEO office. So it wasn't a very core finance role, but more of an operations role, I would say, because uh, uh, because we were more into like lease valuations, lease management, and reporting to the CEO regarding the costs reporting and cost managements. So yeah, so for me that in Dubai the work wasn't that much. The projects there weren't any many major projects as such. My team involvement was the team was also, it's like a, if it is a big team, so that's a disadvantage in a certain sense, because then an intern doesn't get a lot to do. So that was a disadvantage in terms of DOI. And yes, again, the second point, the work wasn't much related to finance. So that was that was a kind of disappointment for me. But yeah, so in terms of technical learnings, there weren't much. It was mostly around management information systems and how to report to a senior management, like directly to the CEO level person. So my manager focused on teaching me that. So that comes under soft skill learnings. So yeah, so that was my experience on Devoy. And yeah, the stipend was 50,000, and the work hours are pretty chill. Like they don't expect you to remain logged in after 9 hours of work. But yes, you have, since this is a virtual work environment, again you have to keep aware of your status very regularly. So that was one thing. And since Dubai is a very Dubai, Credit Suisse, all of these are well organized firms, global banks. They have a very fixed system in place. So that was also kind of the hierarchy was, I saw that in Dubai it was relatively stricter than in Credit Suisse. So that was also something that wasn't good. That's why, that was the reason I decided to choose for a switch after this after last semester. So this semester I worked for Credit Suisse Global Market Risk Management team. So we look after the securitized products market in US and EU. And what we do is basically we look after the risk matrix for these products, and we work as the second line of defense toward the front office trades in SP market. And like we look after value at risk not in var, the incremental risk charge, economic risk capital, and we have to sign off on a daily basis on whether according to best of our knowledge these risks are within the regulators prerequisites requirements or not. So that's a responsible job, because if there is any kind of discrepancy, you will be the one whose collar will be like hold it for that. So that's why for the first 2 months here, until March, I wasn't given work, but rather focused on learning about these products, about the workflow, about the various uh, the systems in place, because this is because signing off directly is recorded into the regulators reports. So yeah, so there's no scope of any kind of uh, like any kind of shortcomings. So we have to maintain reports on strategies, and if there is any breach, if there is any kind of trading that leads to regulators attention, we have to have certain rationales. We need to get it from the CRO office, which is the chief risk office. And this chief risk office directly reports to CEO of the investment bank, because this SP comes under the IB credit division. So that's another thing. So one major advantage I would say is you get to talk to people who sit in US, and they directly report to CEO of the team. So if they know you by name, there's always a good chance of you getting a certain advantageous future prospect in terms of getting a better role or getting a uh, kind of a good name, goodwill. So that was an advantage in Credit Suisse. So yeah. So last month I was switched into another team, Flex, which is flags and limits reports team. So the reason was that although I had been working in the SP team for 4 months, there was not a very major work bandwidth that could be given to a full-time employee. So my manager was satisfied with my work ethics, so he recommended me to a different team where they have a where they have a full-time opening. So they switched me to the full-time to that team. So I'm currently working with the new Flex team. It's a limits and flags reports team which supports the risk managers in maintaining the workflows and in monitoring these various breaches and whether the certain limits we have put in place for respective products, if it is uh, being followed or not. So it's a close. This all comes under GMRM. So you could be allotted into any of these teams if you are if you are opting for this station and you get allotted. So this all comes under GMRM. So yeah. So now, if I compare the two stations, obviously, like you would have got an idea that I would prefer CS, obviously, but there's a bias there because of the team that I was allotted in DBOI. So what I would say is, if you're looking into getting into core finance in terms of risk profiles, DeBoy would also offer good work opportunities. But yes, for me, Credit Suisse work was much more learned. There was a much more learning in this role than in DeBoy's, and I got to learn about various market movement logics, why how certain products work and everything. So that's why I'm very satisfied with this PS. And in terms of learning, obviously, I had a better learning experience at CS than DeBoy. There was technical as well as soft skill learnings. Rather, while in DeBoy, it was mostly around soft skills and management and reportings. In terms of brand, it's hard to decide. Both have similar, uh, both have similar brand name. So in Credit Suisse, because they have been taking PS students for far more longer, so you'll find a lot of Bitsians there in every team. In the team I was allotted into first SP, I was allotted a mentor who was a Hyderabad campus alumni, Siddharth Padala, and he also got a PPO from PS itself 2 years back. And in the new team that I've been allotted, there's a Pilani campus alumni. His name is also Siddharth Pruthi. So he has been working with CS for 3 years, and he also got in through the PS system. He got a PPO working in the scenarios team, and then he was shifted into the Flex team. So you'll find a lot of Bitsians there. So that's a good thing because the internal transfers is very smooth in CS. So it's definitely helpful. So that's why I would recommend CS on that basis if there's a choice. And in terms of work-life balance, it's pretty chill. So initially, when I was working in the SP team, the my login time was around 1:30 p.m. and logout time was around 10:30 p.m. We were supporting the US team, so the US team logs in around 6 p.m. So that's why it was a bit awkward work hour. But in Flex team again, it's a Indian working hour like 12 to 9 p.m. So it's work like it's better just in Flex team. But yes, still it's just 9 hours, so you can adjust to that. And so in terms of career prospects, there are a lot of open risk profile positions. So that's why many juniors have been pinging me about uh, which profile to choose. So I have a better experience in terms of risk profile. So I've been recommending that, and there are a lot of open positions in risk profile. So that could contribute to having a better PPO chance, but obviously there's no surety. So here I've mentioned like whatever if relatively you could do better to get a better PPO to have a better shot at PPO. So like asking questions, it's very important, especially in term if you are into any kind of regulatory role, you have to ask questions because there's no scope for any kind of shortfall. You have to show your diligence, and showing is also important diligence. It's just not that you're following the rules and it's enough. You have to show that you are very serious about rules. After that, since it's a virtual environment, you have to sometimes get out of a comfort zone and push for projects, because these are big firms. So sometimes they have a different team for projects. Like there's a change team who works on different kind of projects. So you have to push to get projects. That's the thing. So I'll recommend FRM if you're planning on working risk profiles. You could opt for it after working for 2 months, and if you like it. But yes, because the course in college in FRAM DRN, it's not exhaustive. It's a very basic course structure. So that's why I'd recommend FRM. And in terms of don'ts, I would say definitely say that don't sit back and wait for feedback. You have, since the manager is a senior manager in these firms, he won't be monitoring you on a week to week basis. So I'd recommend have a great relationship with your mentor, because he'll be giving your feedback to the manager. So these are kind of generic things, but I wish someone had told me this a year back. So I'm sharing it with all of you. So good kindness and good work ethics don't go waste. So like my manager was happy with my work ethic, so he recommended me to a new team, because there was no open positions in his own team. So that's what my last recommendation would be. So yeah, so that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Saumitra Bhaiya. We have our final speaker for the day, Bhavya. Following that, we'll have a round of Q&A, and there are quite a number of questions, so the talk might extend 20-25 minutes beyond this after Bhavya's talk. I hope everyone stays and like a lot more queries can be clarified in the Q&A round. Bhavya, you have the floor.
Yeah, sure. Just let me know once my screen is visible, okay?
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think most of the points have been covered by all the three speakers up till now, as in what you should be looking at when you're trying to get a finance PS. But I'll touch down on some points which can be helpful. Um, Okay, so I'll start with my quick background about myself. So I am a civil engineering single degree student, and I do not have a minor in finance. A lot of people have this doubt usually that I've done finance courses, but I do not have a minor. So will that affect when I'm getting a finance PS station? That does not happen. You just need to do the finance courses. If you have good grades in them, the grade is the only thing that the PSB will look at. I had an offshoot of 46 points. And I was sitting in the second semester where the CG cutoffs went relatively lower than compared to the first semester. And there were a lot more new companies, a lot of more companies. For example, Credit Suisse wasn't there in the first semester this year, but we had Credit Suisse luckily in the second semester. A little bit about my financial exposure before this internship to give you an idea how much finance knowledge I had. I worked on a research project at a B school. I worked in a real estate investment firm. I worked for a while on a consulting project which dealt with financial modeling, and I did a SOP in finance. That was it. No major big brand names, no major big work experience in the finance. So look at it from a point of view from a person who's just done finance courses, just has the basic knowledge which is taught in college, and who's going and working into an IB. So basic about Credit Suisse, I think Saumitra covered it well. So Credit Suisse is an IB. My role was within the risk office. The subdivision that I was working for was RAFTAR, as it's known as, Risk Finance Data Analytics and Reporting. So basically what the subdivision has done, that for regulatory reporting, you need to do stress testing, you need to analyze all the data and everything, right? So that is done in this subdivision. And within this subdivision, then you have a lot of teams underneath it. So when you see your PS station list, you will just see this one role, right? But within this role, there will be multiple teams, and all of you people who get this station would be allotted in those teams, maybe one or two per team, that's it. and the team sizes in Credit Suisse are relatively smaller, and they're more specialized, I would like to say. For example, the team that I'm working in has 5 people right now, and 5 people excluding me right now. And they have a very specialized operation, right? Like, we look at the scenarios data. We ensure the data quality is correct. So the scenarios word has been mentioned multiple times during this talk itself. So I wouldn't go in depth into what it is exactly and how it matters, because that will be something very specific and will be helpful to only a few people who end up taking this role. But basically what I want to tell is that this is basically risk office. So the kind of courses that you need to know are are first of all DRM, and if you've done financial engineering, it will be helpful. It's not necessary. You just need to know about the products. What are derivatives? What are options? What are swaps? You just need to know what all things are these. Once you know this, once you enter the company, you will be given SOPs, where you will study those SOPs in the initial 1 or 2 weeks of your internship, and then you realize how the team works. Since it will be a very specialized operation, you'll get an idea about one specific topic, one specific thing. So let's say if you've done DRM, you won't be dealing with everything that you've learned in DRM, right? There will be one small topic that you've read about or something that you've understood. There was something very small topic that was mentioned, and over here there would be this whole team working on that small topic. Okay, so the teams don't expect you to know everything pehle se. So you just have to go read the SOPs, and you should be good to go in a week or two. Coming to my roles, so the work isn't so my role especially, we're not a very project based team. Our work is more like a daily work or a weekly work, which has to be done, daily tasks and weekly tasks which have to be done. So what my Monday would look like, my Tuesday would look very similar. There will be minor changes, but it will look very similar. And the errors that I encounter, or the data errors or the data exceptions that I encounter would be different every day, obviously. But the processes that I go through, the functions that I do, will be more or less similar on a daily or a weekly repeating basis, right? So yeah, that would be it. And I'll go to the general tips directly, okay? Because I think the problem at hand, which you guys right now have, is how to fill in the preferences, okay? So I know that what usually goes on in any third year's mind is that, okay, I've heard that this bank is better, this bank is better than this, and I will place all roles of this bank above the other bank. Don't do that. Go through the roles thoroughly. Understand what you'll be doing if you're allotted that station, because you don't want to end up in a station where you're not interested in the work and you're just there for the brand. Okay, because you'll be working there for 6 months. Even when you decide that you don't want to join them, you'll be still doing that work for 6 months, and 6 months is a significant time when you think about your career, right? So go through the roles thoroughly, and you have to identify your purpose of why you want to go and do a finance PS station, do a finance PS, okay? Because see, one of the end goal could be that you want to apply the financial knowledge that you've gained through courses. So again, in this case, as I mentioned, you'd be exploring one specific topic that you've learned through your courses, or maybe even something which you haven't learned in your courses, right? So if that is your end goal, you'll have to modify a little bit. You'll have to get a reality check that you won't be able to apply everything that you've learned throughout all courses, and not even throughout one course, okay? Then if your ideal goal is to break into the finance industry using the brand name, then I think that's a practical goal, because that'll really help you. That if you have a, let's say, Credit Suisse brand on your CV, or JP brand on your CV, that'll definitely help you get through places in any financial firm. That will obviously add in a lot of credibility, irrespective of the role that you've worked in. But then you should be ready for taking something up which you maybe don't like, or maybe don't want to continue. You should be able to go through it for this. You should be ready to go through it for the next 6 months. Then I know some people in my batch who just took up finance PS stations just because they wanted to explore finance, and they had very small exposure of finance before joining the firm. So for those people, this wasn't a great experience, because as I mentioned, you won't be understanding what all finance is, as in the whole, as a whole spectrum. You'd be diving in vertically. Your knowledge won't be increasing horizontally, right? So you need to know that if you can't join an investment bank, a specialized team, to know and explore the whole domain of finance, you can't have that expectation. Okay. So my co-speakers over here were, I think, lucky in terms of the working hours they had. But in case if you're dealing with multiple time zones, multiple regions, for example, I'm dealing with US, Asia Pacific, Europe, and Middle East, all three regions. Okay, so my working hours are pretty long. I log in at 9 or 9:30 in the morning, and I usually get off at around 8 or 8:30 in the evening. But that's on the good days. When the things go bad, or there's more work needed, it goes up to 11:30 in the night sometimes. And there are certain job functions where you can't take leaves on, let's say, holidays like Holi or Diwali, even though there's an India-wide holiday. But since you're dealing with different regions and you're dealing with different trading markets, so it won't be a holiday over there. So your team has to go in and work, because what reports you're sending in, what work you're doing is impacting the trading happening in those markets, right? So your team will have to go in, and if not the whole team, half of the team will have to go in. So be prepared to work on holidays. Sometimes there's testing going on and things, and some extra project runs going on weekends. So you'll have to be prepared to work on weekends also. So be prepared for all this, because if it comes as a shock after you join the firm, maybe you'll have this in your head that, okay, am I the only one, is my team the only one which is doing this, or is my company the only one doing this? That's not so. I think a little bit IB generally has longer working hours than the other domains, so be prepared for that. And as my co-speaker said, take initiatives. That's absolutely necessary to make a good impression, because as you know, as in before you came in as an intern, they were handling the processes by themselves. So they will obviously give you time, they'll teach you things, but you'll have to keep asking for things, and asking to take up more work once you're done with the work that is allotted. Ask them questions about anything new that you see going on. And yeah, for projects you'll have to push your manager to ask for projects and all. And yeah, timeliness and precision is very necessary, as if there are any delays, or if there is any mistake that you make, that will end up cascading down to the other stakeholders that you are dealing with. And at least this is very true when you talk about risk. I'm not sure about the other departments, but when you talk about risk, this will have there will be a lot of cascading effects to the other teams and the other stakeholders. So if you make a small mistake, the repercussions would be bigger. So it's better to keep asking your mentor or your manager things, even if you think you're pestering them with a lot of questions. They'll be always ready to answer those questions, because even they know that rather than making a mistake, it's better that you clarify it with them, however dumb that question sounds to you. Okay. Coming to the skills which will help you, as I mentioned, basic knowledge of different products out there. In my team, we mainly deal with equities and fixed income derivatives, but you could be allotted any team if you end up getting the RAFDAR role. But apart from that also, I think we have CS has roles in 3 locations. Okay, one is in Powai, Mumbai, is the one where I am. One is in Pune. Both of these offices are back-end offices essentially. Okay, and there's this one office in Worli, Mumbai. Okay, and that is that office kind of deals with the middle office work. And we have roles with IBCM in the PS list. You'll see the role name, investment banking and capital markets. and there's another role called sustainability research and investments. These two roles are based out of Varli, and they'll be kind of middle office roles. All the other roles that you see are risk roles, majorly risk roles only. And yeah, in all these other roles, for the risk roles, you need to have a basic knowledge about financial products. You can brush up your skills on Excel, learn how to do VLOOKUP, index match, pivot tables, basic of macros. That will be helpful. Won't take up your time when you join in. And anything apart from that, I think the SOPs should be helpful to get you through. And coming to the exit opportunities part, you will be if you get a PPO, you'll be joining in as a risk analyst. In Credit Suisse, we call it ENO. So as a risk analyst, once you enter as a risk analyst, you're basically defining your trajectory that, okay, I'm going to work into risk going on. So obviously you have positions open in different investment banks, JP, GS, Deutsche, UBS, you have Nomura, you have options open in all these investment banks in the role of risk management. And apart from this, if you plan to do an FRM, I think that will be really helpful, will accelerate your career in the risk domain. And in certain cases, I've seen profiles where people also make a shift from the risk to the core IB teams. So that's a possibility too. But otherwise, it's a kind of role where you're restricted to finance or restricted to risk. So not a lot of opportunities to explore things are open once you get into this role full time. And second thing which I want to throw light upon is the fact that this is not a very engineering based role. Okay, this is a role for which they hire MBAs from tier 2 colleges and CAs. So this is a finance role proper. And when you see packages like 30 20, 25 30, when you see JP offering such packages, or any other IB offering such packages, it's usually for the quant roles. Okay, so don't go into all these roles, don't go into risk roles, irrespective of the bank. Okay, I'm not talking about CS specifically over here. If you end up joining any investment bank for a risk role, your compensation would be way less. Expect something between 10 to 15 for a fresher, because that is what the range is industry wide. And on talking about Credit Suisse specifically, they pay you according to the industry average. They don't pay you less. You'd be quite satisfied with the pay. But again, the pay will vary from team to team, your role to role, but don't expect crazy numbers like 20, 30, 25, 30 LPA, because this is a pure risk role. It's not a quant role. Quant roles are basically a little bit on the tech side, and more. And I think from a PS perspective, the quant roles and the tech-based roles are generally open for circuit branches, and are generally open for people with eco as their MSc. For other single degree students coming from mech, chemical, civil, I think the only kind of roles which are open, at least in CS, one are risk roles, and one role apart from this is the investment banking and capital management role. So if you want to go there, I would recommend going there, since it's a middle office role. And yeah, I think that should cover it. Yeah, I think if you have any questions, I think you can put it in the form that's floated in the chat box, and I'll try to answer them.
All right. Thank you, Bhavya. And I think now we can start with the Q&A round. Yeah, a disclaimer before that. Since a lot of people here are not final year students in submitting the questions, I'll be quickly answering those questions myself, which are not like offshoot B3 ke liye lagta hai ki nahi, or like some very basic questions. I'll let the speakers take very specific questions which are related to their profiles or departments. And yeah, some questions, we are sorry guys if your question is not featured, either it was clubbed or it was discarded because it was already answered in the session. You can go back because we had too many questions and we wanted to wind up the session in next 25 minutes. max. So you can go back in the this thing since it's live. Once the entire talk is over, you can go and watch that speaker's part, and maybe that can help clarifying this thing. So I guess we'll start with the questions. So I'm going to read them out verbatim. So I don't know how they're worded. So the first question is intended specially for Saumitra Bhaiya. How can not opting for dual, that is doing only MSc Economics and not having a BE degree, affect the chances of getting a finance internship / placement? Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yeah. Your voice is breaking.
Sure. How can not opting for dual, for a dual, as in the person's not from a dual branch, they are just MSc Eco. They're asking how can it affect their chances of finance internship, like having just one semester to go for.
Well, I think that would be an advantageous situation, because what you can do is you can do your finance courses early on, and by 3-1 you can do as many courses. So if even if you're sitting for a 4-1 PS, you will have your better offshoot, because you would have done your DELs. Your DELs are your finance courses, so that's an advantageous situation. But yes, obviously, two if you're looking for a PPO, two SEMs are better than one, obviously. But yes, I think any other MSc or any other single degree, you would have an advantage in terms of money. But if you have an option, I think you should, on a different note, you should take a dual if you have an option, because that way, if you have an engineering degree, some kind of roles require that you should have an engineering background. There are some roles. So in terms of future career prospects, even in finance, you would have a wider prospect.
All right. So the next question is at UBS, which office to prefer for the same role, Mumbai or Pune?
Well, it's based on your preferences, your personal preferences. It really doesn't matter if you want to go to Mumbai or Pune. You just see if the location you're opting for is how the expenses are there, how's the situation out there. So Pune and Mumbai won't really make much of a difference for the same role. There won't be any changes in the compensation. There won't be changes in the work they're offering to you, unless it's specifically mentioned that you'll be joining this particular team or you'll be joining this particular team. But if I have to say Mumbai team, they've created office there. I'm not sure about Pune, but Mumbai office is relatively new. And if you're joining there, it's more towards having fun in Mumbai and having fun in a new team. So there's that. So you can opt for both. It's not an issue.
Yeah. So next question is: does PS stations like Goldman Sachs, JPMC, Nomura have less chances of offering a PPO than UBS, Credit Suisse, or DBOI? Anyone, if you have some insight on this question?
Again, Harsh.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I was just going to quote you again that see, PPO again is not something definite, and I'm not sure that JP or Goldman would offer PPOs less than compared to what UBS or Credit would offer. See, what work you're doing, what impact you're bringing to the team there in Goldman or in JP would definitely affect your chances of PPO. See, if you're not giving anything to the team, you're not inputting anything, you're just procrastinating on your projects, or you're not giving them some updates, or you're not giving some progress, you're making constant mistakes. So that decreases your reliability or your credibility in the team, right? So why would they want a person who's relatively, on the lower side of things to trust a project with? That would really affect your chances of PPO. While in UBS, there are people who haven't got the PPO, but again, same situation. Either it was that they were not reliable enough, or they didn't just give certain inputs to the team. And there were people who actually worked really hard, and they were offered there's no bar or something like that. Okay, you will definitely get a PPO. Goldman won't offer PPO at all. That's not the case. It does. Whenever it takes interns, it makes sure to scrutinize them to the end. They'll corner the interns to the end that yes, we are going to work you to the bone, and that's what is coming for you if you're opting for a financial PA station. Any financial institution is going to work you to the bone. They're going to just squeeze everything out of you, and if you can endure that, you are getting a PPO. As simple as that.
And I'm just adding to the points which Ashish mentioned. So, like, basically, you can base your PPO chances on three factors, or basically three pillars. One is longevity, second is performance, and third is availability. So, if you have worked in the firm for more time, right? Let's say if you're a dual PA student or working there, so that way the company has a lot of lost opportunity because they've invested the time in you, and they also have a trained professional, right? So you have to understand that these roles are not rocket science. These are not R&D roles. These are roles where people can work when they are trained. So that way, if you are there in the firm for 1 year, so there's a loss for the company to sort of like get one more person from outside and do the same role. It is just very easy for the company to just plug you in and start working. So longevity plays a very important role. Second thing is availability. So even if you are an ace, you know your finance concepts, you know everything about finance, you are the best performer in the company. But if there is no open position, then it's really difficult for you to get a PPO because these companies have a budgeting system wherein every team gets a budget for their team, and there's a proper rationing when it comes to the number of positions, and that's how it works in a finance company. And the third thing is always your performance. But I understand that most of the Bitsians are eager enough and basically are good performers. A Gen Bitsin would be able to perform very good in any finance firm. So in terms of PPOs, any company, it's more to do with openings. And given the fact that JP has so many stations, I would say that your highest probability is in JP because even if you don't get in one of the team, maybe there's some other team. So that's the only thing. But obviously, there is not a direct one-to-one relation that hey, look, UBS is 50 times higher PPO ratio. Don't look at the previous year saying that uska 80% or 20%. That makes no sense according to me. I think of Bhavya or Saumitra would add something else to that.
Yeah, so adding on to the availability point, so something similar happened with me, as in the team that I'm working for didn't have an availability. But since they've put enough efforts in you, they've noticed a good candidate, they'll end up pushing you to some other team or they'll find a vacancy for you in some other team. That's what happened with me. I got a PPO for some other team which I haven't worked for. I have no idea about what they're working for, right? But that's what happens. So performance is the key, is the North Star metric over here. You have to ace your performance, and then whatever, if there's an availability issue, they'll sort it out, they'll find a team for you and they'll put you there. But yeah, you have to keep your performance up to the mark anyhow.
Just a metric on performance again. Make sure you don't overwork yourself. Generally, it's a misconception. What students are doing is this just performance. We'll work 12 hours a day, we'll work on weekends, we'll complete the projects only. No, take your time. They have a deadline for each of the projects. They've already told you, okay, this is the project, this is the work, and this is the deadline we'll have. All right, try to match with the deadlines. Try to manage your work well. Your time management skills would really come in hand. Here, you have to work with a team. You have to collaborate with them, and that is really important. All right. So make sure never to overwork yourself. That's important.
I guess the next question is for Harshwardhan Bhaiya. If you had to have an order of preference, how will you order CSI, new product development, and index management role?
Okay, so I I don't know if Morningstar employees are watching this, but if I have to be honest, and if nobody suits me, then I would go ahead with new product development because that sort of, according to me, was exciting, right? Matlab, I did not work in that team, but whatever I've talked to, because it's a very good company. Only Bitsians are working there, so there's very good culture there. So I talk to a lot of folks out there. And what I realized, according to me, also new product development is, and also it's a team made of MBAs, right? So a lot of MBAs from IIMs there, and the managers also from Goldman. So that way, that team was more appealing to me. If you're looking for a more generalist role, if you're looking for a laid back role, if you're looking for something which has a good flavor of sales or business analyst or something like that, then go for the CSI team. If you're looking for a bit more finance, then I would say product NPD, and I have a neutral opinion about index management and analytics.
All right. Next question for Bhavya, I guess. I mean, Bhavya, can you talk about a little about like within, yeah, like are middle office roles broader than risk roles at CS?
No, so by middle office roles, they don't mean that they'll be broader. By middle office roles, we mean that you'll be directly talking with the investment bankers out there, client facing, who'd be doing client facing work or are directly interacting with the traders. So the exposure, the networking opportunities would be higher. The work that you would be doing would be inclined more towards investment banking, what an investment bank is more about. But if you're interested in risk, then I think back office, by using the word back office, I think we mean that the client, when we talk about middle office, back office, we are referring to the client interaction over there. It's not based on what work you're doing, right? So you're getting quality work in back office also, and front office also. You just have to decide what fields do you want to go in. Do you want to go into core investment banking? Then go ahead with the middle office roles. That will help you more with that. If you want to go into risk, if you want to do an FRM going a year or two down the line, then you go ahead with the back office roles, which are majorly risk, at least in the case of Credit Suisse. So yeah, don't try to judge roles based on whether it's middle office or back office. It's just a differentiation made on how much client interaction you'll have. It's no judge for the kind of quality of work that you'll be getting.
That's a very, very fair point. Yeah. Now, people have a misconception about
I'll
CS.
just add, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just add one thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
last year during allotment, if I remember correctly, the middle office roles were just for the higher degree students. The middle office risk office roles, and apart from that, you could make a shift from working from back office to middle office after 2 years.
Is there a lag or is it just
Yeah,
me?
yeah, it's
We'll move on to the next question.
okay. We can move on to the next question.
Yeah, again, it's a Credit Suisse question. Within Credit Suisse, what's the difference between the risk profiles, GMRM, NFRM, and the risk reporting?
So
I think,
what I shared.
yeah,
Yeah, so
Saumitra,
like
go ahead. You
what
can
I
talk about GRM now.
Yeah, so whatever I shared, it was part of GMRM. So GMRM looks after mostly the more conventional risk things like bar and everything, and we look after US, EU, APAC, and everything. And this, so NFRM, as the name says, it's non-financial. So what market risk
Saumitra, you can switch
comes
off
under
your video
market
for
risk,
one
credit
more time.
risk.
Saumitra, you can switch off your video. Maybe that way your voice will come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Yes. Thanks, Harsh. So like the global market risk, obviously, as the name suggests, looks after market risk. So we have like market risk, credit risk, operations risk. So that's one major difference, a high level difference. But yeah, so like whatever I've shared, that was part of the market risk team, and you could find a lot of roles in market risk in various firms. If you're asking with respect to which one has more prospects, so I would say market risk has much more open roles in terms of.
Saumitra Bhaiya, your this thing, voice is still not like audible. It's very patchy.
Bhavya, what would
I'm
you like
sorry,
to say?
it's actually internet issue. So did
Yeah,
we like?
I'll touch upon the reporting part till then. Saumitra, I'll touch upon the reporting part. Maybe you can fix your internet issue till then and then come back, right? Yeah, so when we talk about reporting,
Yeah,
the
sure,
REFTAR
Bhavya.
role, yeah, teams working on different regulatory reports. There are regulatory requirements which are to be met for the investment banks. So these regulatory requirements, so they prepare reports. Now, for the vertical that I work in, there are stress testing reports. So those reports are being prepared. There are various teams working on these reports. So it's not a small deal. Reporting might sound like a small deal as in something, a very basic operation, but there are multiple teams working in this. And there's a lot of data handling that's being done. There's a lot of checks, number of checks on multiple number of checks on the data quality, the valuations, and a lot of things. So basically, this is more of a part from the regulatory point of view. The other two teams focus on the main risk part, on the major risk analysis part. Over here, the risk analysis that we do is for the reporting purpose only. It does not affect the trading, right? So I think that's the major difference over here.
Can you touch upon a little on the NFRM?
Yeah,
wala
Bhavya,
role?
right.
So I'm not very aware of that
So-
role as in the team division further down there. So I think Saumitra would be more aware since it's a parallel role.
All right. Saumitra, yeah, we can try one more
so
time.
like NFRM, yeah, so NFRM actually it's more around the operational risks, while the financial like credit risk and market risk comes under the financial risk. So that's one major difference. I don't have insights into the exact day-to-day workings, but that's a major difference. So NFRM is still up and coming, while credit and market risk are more traditional risk, more traditional risk teams, because that's how operational risk came under Basel 2.5 norm. So that's a relatively new thing. Yeah.
So if you put it from a market risk analysis, for example, GMRM does more of the credit risk and the market risk, and then the other team is doing the operational risk.
Operations only.
So that all the analysis is being done by these two teams for the traders, right? After all this is done, the reporting team, we are doing the analysis of all these three risks for the regulatory purposes. So we are dealing with all these three risks for all the regions, and we are using it for the regulatory purposes. So I think that should cover a brief about all of it.
I guess now everyone can differentiate in all the CSK risk profiles, because there are a lot of questions on CSK risk profile in specific. There are a lot of questions which are from first years, which are very basic. Guys, I'll just cover these important questions. Uske baad, the speakers can leave, because we have taken time of finance PS kids, and you know how hard these guys work. So uske baad I can address all your chota B3 का offshoot चाहिए कि नहीं, and Morningstar में non-finance वाले roles भी हैं, and all of those things जो बहुत basic है. We'll cover only the important questions here. So we will do all of those afterwards. Yeah, this one's also covered. Yeah, there's a direct question on GMRM ka CTC, if you want to throw light on that a little.
But for people asking about CTC, it's not right.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't even know what GMRM CTC is. The stipend, everybody knows it's 75K, but no idea around
Take an
CTC.
informed guess. 75K stipend is so
So I'd expect 11 to 12 probably, after like tax and everything. A conservative guess.
Yeah. ये तो बहुत सारे first year questions ही हैं. JPMC questions we can take in the next panel, because the next panel is the JPMC panel. I guess all the very specific wala questions are done at this point. Other questions, I guess we can try answering ourselves, because they are बहुत ऐसे general questions in finance. Thank you guys for your time. I hope all of this helps everyone to take the best decision for themselves. And once again, really thank you so much for putting in all the effort and making the slides in such a short notice. And I guess we can conclude the talk here. Thank you so much. And I'll address the rest of the questions.
Well,
So,
there's just one request. So if anybody who's watching this and he gets allotted DBOI, please don't share my part with your DBOI managers. I don't want to get blacklisted from DBOI for future.
yeah, guys, please take that into consideration.
Thank you, Raj, for inviting us for these seminars.
Completely true what Saumitra says. They can probably, grab us and be like, okay, you were telling this stuff? Okay, let's have a little private talk with managers and all of the stakeholders you just mentioned. All right.
Hey guys, thanks a lot. Have a good day. Take it safe. Keep safe. Enjoy, and don't take too much stress. It's gonna work out well. Okay.
All right,
Thank you,
thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raj, for having us.
Thanks, Raj, for having us. See you all soon.
All
Bye-bye.
right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Acha, guys, I'll just quickly answer all the other questions which are बहुत first year wale questions. So there's a question: is there any company bias towards a particular branch, non-economics? What are the important courses, individual projects, and skills that students should start developing for finance roles? So for any particular role, there are some preferred branches. For a lot of profiles, economics is a preferred branch, but for some profiles, computer science is a preferred branch. That doesn't mean the profile is only there for computer science students. It's open to other profiles as well. Usually, it's either B3 or A7. Otherwise, if there is some market research company which is looking for someone who has an idea about let's say the electronics market and stuff, then they might have A3 A8 as their preference. But yeah, it's not a bias. The company is mentioned for a particular role. So this question, I guess, gets pretty much answered. Then yeah, what are the other important courses and all? You can take the finance courses offered on campus. Do your study projects under finance professors. Do an internship in finance in first, second, third year. All these traditional things you can do. So are coding skills necessary in these roles? Few roles excluding data science, fintech, softwares also have Python and SQL required. That's true. Even if it's not a fintech role, it's expected that the person would know basic Python, SQL, and basic machine learning. I'm not saying it's true for all the roles, but yeah, at least risk analytics roles will require you to be handy with them, and they are many in number. IB roles, equity research roles, global market roles, these kind of roles, they necessarily are more of khali Excel or valuation wala kam. So they won't necessarily require all this thing. But yeah, having some grip on at least two things, Python and SQL, will increase your chances multifold of being able to apply at a lot of places. As I've heard that in college, not much is taught in courses to get placed in finance sector. So you do only 5 to 6 courses in finance. The industry is wide, so definitely not a lot can be covered. So that to some extent is true. That can be supplemented by individuals' interest in a specific domain, or by taking certification exams like Saumitra Bhaiya and Bhavya already mentioned. FRM is really good for risk, and the other exam being CFA. So yeah, you can work on that yourself. Yeah, on campus there is a limitation since you only do 5 to 6 courses. Can we get some idea? Does Morningstar require finance minor or any other branch specifications? So the first thing is nobody requires finance minor. As Bhavya already said, they require certain specific subjects that you should have done from finance. So even if you don't apply for the minor and you do all those courses, it's well and good. And apart from that, this thing, yeah, Morningstar or any other company, उसका PS list में बहुत exactly लिखा रहता है what all subjects you should have done, and if it's not written and it's any branch, then it's a general rule. Then does offshoot matter for economic students? ये question के 3-4 variations है. Let's clear this once and for all. Offshoot is not an individual score. It's a company specific score. And it's a company and even a profile specific score. As Saumitra Bhaiya mentioned, in GMRM, they take a course called FRAM, which is very specific to uska offshoot. Yeah, it's true that for largely there are certain courses, DRM, SAPM, BAV, Finman, and FundaFin, which are usually taken as the offshoot ka score, but it can be tailor made. Coming to economics ke liye lete hain ki nahi. So where it's written that it's a preferred branch for B3, they might not, but like agar any likha hai, and if they need to compare different profiles where it's not B3 specific, then they might. And even with offshoot, it's not absolute. People who must have attended the PSD talk know this, though we are not a part of PSD, so we are not authorized to give any official information. For that, you contact Muthu Kumar sir or Gaikwad sir. But there are two patterns for, and again, it's everything is very specific for the company. So the only thing at a first year or a second year level you can know is try to maximize everything. That's the only way you can be sure of guaranteeing a role you want. There are two primary methods. One where there is an offshoot cutoff, then the station is given based on CGPA, or there is a CGPA cutoff and the station is given based on the offshoot CGPA. The more common one is having an offshoot cutoff and then it being given on CGPA, but the other one also is there in some stations. वो बहुत station specific है. You can't really say anything. And even for economic students, for some जहाँ पे सिर्फ B3 को ही मिलता है, of course there it doesn't make sense to calculate offshoot. There it's largely on the CG. And yeah, this question has been answered. Group risk profiles in UBS is only for dual degree. Can you please elaborate? Group finance and group operation profiles. Oh shit, I should have asked this question. All right, we'll go ahead. How should we decide whether to go for double PS or not? You will get a sense of where your profile is headed. You yourself will know at some point in the future, but a few pointers which will help you take this decision of double PS or not is if you are like obviously you're a dualite. So if you are an eco dualite in specific, of course, a double PS will help you explore two companies. And B, if you are staying in one company, increases your chances of a PPO. So that way it's good. For a non-inco student, a double PS, I would say one can always see if they want to have a thesis, if they're planning for an MS. But if you are planning to jump into the corporate world, yeah, maybe two PSs would be better. But it's a very individualistic argument. What makes sense for you? I am currently in competitive coding, so how should I switch and prepare for finance sector? Nothing. You just take courses on campus. You do projects in finance, and as you have already seen, coding never goes to waste, even if it's in finance. So if you want to develop your niche in fintech, you can learn things like algorithmic trading, or you can develop those kind of this thing to leverage both your skill sets. I'm in my first year. Which skill do I learn? I want to go in asset management. I'm planning to do an MBA and a CFA and a CFA. Which skills do you learn? I mean, yeah, man, if you do an MBA or a CFA, you will get an entry into asset management. Yeah, you can start preparing for a CFA right now, or you can start preparing for GMAT early on if you have some clarity on, if you are pretty sure. And on campus also, you can devote your projects in that direction, take courses like SAPM and all. If I want to push for getting a PPO, which semester do I go for? As everyone already said, it's the PPO depends on your performance. And as Bhavya said and gave her own example, even if there is not an opening and you have been a good intern, there are high chances they'll put you in some other team. So I don't think that that will make any difference. Of course, during pandemic, uh, like last year, there were higher number of roles. So just from a probability perspective, if there were higher number of roles offered in the second semester, the chances would have been higher in the second semester. Otherwise, in a general scenario, it doesn't really matter. Um, Morningstar and Credit Suisse have offered non-finance roles like client relationship. Client relationship of Morningstar is not a very non-finance role. Do I need a finance offshoot for this? This thing, if they have written that these are their preferred courses, you will need an offshoot based on their preferred courses. It's mentioned in the problem bank. Read that. PSD is adding some new finance stations, but the problem is that उनका problem bank available नहीं है. We are not PSD. We do not know whether they will come. When will that get filled? You can always contact PSD for the same. Is it advisable for dualites to take up finance minor? What percentage of people with finance minor actually land finance jobs? How are finance PPO placements compared to IT ones? Is it advisable for dualites to take up finance minor? Of course, if you are physics plus triple E and you don't like either, or if you want to go for finance, then maybe yeah, finance minor can help you. And or not finance minor necessarily, the finance courses, but yeah, it's a Herculean task. And most people have to take a summer term if they're a dualite and they want to take up finance courses. What percentage of people with finance minor actually land finance jobs? इसका statistic तो मेरे पास नहीं है, but yeah, a fair majority of people who have taken a finance minor at least get a finance internship. And if you work hard, if you are well equipped with your skills, there is a high chance you get the this thing PPO. So what are finance PPO placement? How are finance PPO placements compared to IT ones? I have no clue how to answer this question. So I'll just move ahead. What opportunities, benefits, disadvantages would a person get for sitting in IT placements if she has done an internship in fintech roles? It definitely will help you. There are a lot of IT roles right now which require thoda finance का knowledge, because fintech is such a growing space. अपने अभी प्लेसमेंट का लिस्ट में से ही बोलूं तो मॉर्गन स्टैनली आईटी रोल, अमेरिकन एक्सप्रेस आईटी रोल, both of these roles, if you'll have done a few finance courses, it will help you. So yeah, if you want to sit for IT placements, having done an internship in fintech is absolutely relevant. Yeah, I mean, of course, if you're going in software development, then maybe not. But if it's like in the mathematical modeling part or in the machine learning part, and all, of course, if it's relevant, it will help. What should I prefer, competitive coding or finance? I'm in my first year. If you can do both, because finance may be coding lagta hai, as seniors already said. And I mean, me saying what you prefer is not is not what you will take. So explore both the domains. Start like learning languages and start taking up finance courses on Coursera and stuff. You'll have an answer for yourself by second year. What is the cutoff for Credit Suisse for single degree risk profiles if offshoot is good? हर साल cutoff change होता है, and you have this data available. You can always go and check for that. This has already been answered. JPMS का बहुत सारे फाइनेंस रोल्स हैं, that can be discussed tomorrow. There is a general rant that someone wants an internship in finance. They are currently pursuing PS1. Apply on LinkedIn. Reach out to your seniors. That will help. What should I do to get in finance sector? I'm a first year, right? Do finance courses, take finance projects, do finance internships. Is it really important to learn basic coding? Yes, it is. Are Morningstar roles open for single degree as well? On PS, it's written for any B3. Of course, the preference is any B3, but Harshwardhan Bhaiya was not B3, so as I said, it's just a preferred branch. You need not, and as he mentioned, that non B3 people as well apply at Morningstar. It is a common notion in the market that working conditions are very bad in companies, particularly GS and JPMC. They have to do an insane 80 to 90 hours per week, and their just a second, and their social life. Okay, it's just a rant, I guess. And their social life is negligible. Is it true? You heard it from the seniors yourself. It honestly is true, especially if you're working in a middle office or a front office where you're working for a client which is not from your country. So of course, working hours ajeeb honge, and yeah, that's true to some extent. Um, what can we prepare related to finance apart from our courses? Apart from your courses, you can, if you really are clear about the sector, you can pursue CFA, FRM, and yeah, that's. What is the highest and average package in finance in PS2? एवरेज का तो स्टेटिस्टिक नहीं है इस बार. हाईएस्ट गोल्डमैन सैक्स का IB प्रोफाइल है, दैट इज 1,20,000 as a stipend. I do not know about the packages, but yeah, the premium ones range in the 25 to 30 ka range. The average ones are between 16 to 20, and the risk ones are usually in 10 to 15. Is it possible that I am A4, but I put only B3 roles in my preference list as well? Yeah, as well. You can put that. You can put them as well, but don't just put them. Put your like any profile wale roles as well. But of course, you can do that because that's just a preference. Other profiles are as well considered. Bhavya completed all the five. How is Bhavya's offshoot 46? This is the question. Bhavya went for a finance PS in second semester, so her Finman was not counted as a 5, but the actual grade she must have received इसीलिए वो 45 से ऊपर है. People who did not understand this, don't worry. What exactly is the non-financial risk profile in credit Suisse? वो समझा दिया है भव्या ने और सौमित्र भैया ने, that it's around this thing, modeling the operational risk कि sales कम हुआ और कहीं calamity आ गया, तो stuff like that. All of these non-financial risks, that's what that profile deals with. There's a just general statement. If I'm interested towards valuation roles, I think the only relevant profile is IB. Yeah, that's true. If someone is confused between finance versus the non-finance non-core station, what factors can one consider? If someone's interested, someone's confused between finance core station. Yeah, of course. You can consider the kind of work you're doing. For example, if it's a finance station where the work is very this thing, it's very monotonous or something you have no idea about, or it's too niche for you. To the contrary, you're getting a business analyst role. जैसे अभी grow वगैरह के अच्छे business analyst roles आए, and if you think कि it will be much more sensible to go for a business analyst or a product management role in another company, which is this thing, you can definitely go for that. And yeah, I think it's a very individual argument. Keep the profile at the top, and then the brand, and then your PPO chances. What kind of a position should one opt for a future in asset management specifically? If you want to go for asset management in specific, of course, undergrad level, and that too in an engineering college, there are not many openings for the same. But I guess preferring IB right now would be a good segue to that. But yeah, as such, not many portfolio management roles are offered. हाँ, Morningstar का index management आता है, that is not the same, but kind of close. So I guess that wraps up all the questions. Thank you guys for all those who have stayed up until now. I hope you guys did learn a lot, and we'll end the session here. Once again, thank you so much for turning up. Mayank, you can